first episode of a 5-part series, Zooey and I begin a 12,500-kilometer journey, retracing an epic undertaking that laid the foundations of modern China, the Long March. Yudao in Jiangxi province. It may not look it, but this is a place of pilgrimage. Every year, hundreds of thousands come here to learn about one of the most important events in modern Chinese history. Many of our parents' generation come to relive it. As for me, I'm here with Zooey on a special mission.
Hey guys, to celebrate the 80th anniversary of the end of the Long March, Zooey and I have decided to retrace that epic journey.
The Long March was a military campaign that changed the course of history for modern China, and we want to experience some of the legacy that's been left behind.
Over the next 5 episodes, we'll be traversing rivers, mountains and swamps.
And exploring the cultural heritages along the way. But the journey was a 12,500 kilometer one, so we've decided to split it up.
I'm starting here in Yudao, which is where everything began.
And you'll be joining me in Shanxi province and Sichuan as well.
It's a long ways away, so you best get going.
Where are my pedals? Come on, Tia. All right, see you in episodes 4 and 5.
Bye. See you in episode 5.
From Yudao, we'll follow the route taken by the Long Marchers, from the subtropics to the subarctic, before meeting up again in Yan'an. The Long March was a strategic maneuver carried out by the Red Army of the Communist Party during the Chinese Civil War. Beginning in October 1934, the march is seen as one of the key episodes in shaping modern China.
你知道长征吗？
知道。
你知道长征吗？
我知道长征啊，它是从于都出发的。
你知道长征从哪里出发的吗？
我知道，是从我们于都的长征第1渡，在这个我们于都的这个长征园小学附近这个渡口出发的。
你知道长征吗？
知道，肯定知道长征。作为一个于都人，每个人都知道长征啊。长征就是从我们于都开始出发，渡过了于都河，就标志着25000里长征的开始。
The Long March is indelibly associated with Yudao, as are the Hakka people, who make up 95% of the town's population. However, the Hakka aren't originally from here, having arrived from central China several centuries ago. They brought with them their unique customs and erected ancestral temples dedicated to their forebears. Known for their hospitality and tight-knit communities, the Hakka helped the Communist Party by secretly relaying messages in their unique language, much like the Navajo code talkers of World War II.
哇，做草鞋呢？
啊，你好，
喂，你好，你好，我可以过来看看吗？
好，可以，请坐。
哎，谢谢。哇，这都是用什么做的呀？这些草鞋？
这个草鞋的主要材料就是稻草。
怎么处理它才能变成这样子啊？
这个稻草呢，要选上等的稻草，因为稻没有霉变的，还要把它晒干。在编草鞋之前，这个稻草还要进行初加工。怎么加工呢？就是用这个木锤呀，在石头上把这个稻草呢用木锤把它锤绵了。
哦，对，打扁，
比较柔软。 编起来就更方案。
对，要不然就穿不
就好硬。对，而且还更容易断掉。这样棉了的话就不更韧性更好。
Back in poorer times, every family produced their own sandals. With straw readily available, they cost nothing to make.
Alrighty. I'm kind of glad that I guess. They don't go for that much because I'm probably going to ruin this pair. Okay. 然后我是坐着这个凳子上，
坐这个凳子。
坐那个凳子上。
不行，那个。
然后
他应该搞可以。
挂着转。咱们有1个、2个、3个、4个、5个、6个、7个、8个、9个、10个、11个。 We have to make 11 pairs.
大家都来告一下。
做11双有可能得需要点时间哈，你们稍等一会儿。
大家告一下。
In the weeks before the Long March began, hundreds of thousands of these sandals were woven for the Red Army. They didn't last very long, as the soldiers covered vast distances every day. When their sandals fell apart, they simply continued, barefoot, across raging rivers, treacherous snow-capped mountains, and bogs into which people simply disappeared.
It's actually quite good. I mean, I've got my own shoe on just for comparison, and this is quite comfortable. Obviously, it's very breezy. But I can't imagine sitting down to make dozens of pairs of this for anyone, and then having to trek miles in these shoes, which will fall apart in 3 days. It's so much hard work. But yeah, I mean, for modern day fashion, this definitely fits the bill.
Farmers and manual labourers made up the bulk of the Red Army. Thanks to the reforms introduced by the Communist Party, land had been given to those who tilled it. People were eager to join the Red Army and fight for a good cause. Indeed, it was common for brothers, friends, and neighbours to enlist together. When it was time for the Red Army to set off, all the doors in town were removed to make pontoons for crossing the Udall River. It was from this point forward that the Long March truly began. Today, it's hard to imagine how difficult life was all those decades ago. Here in Udall, the Long March now lends its name to streets, schools and parks, filled with people playing music and singing old revolutionary songs. For the Hakka people, music is a form of identity. The instrument they're most associated with is the sorna, usually played at important occasions like weddings and funerals. Originally popular on the central plains of China, the sorna is a double reed horn which migrated south with the Hakka, who've since made it their own. Here in Udall, they have their own special version of the sorna, quaintly called the husband and wife, which has been designated an intangible cultural heritage. To learn more, I meet up with music teacher Liu Jiacheng. His grandfather was just 3 years old when the Long Marches set off, and still remembers being told stories about the Red Army.
我叔叔就刘福梅，我哥哥就刘建水，吹唢呐，吹那个四声民族呀，升到球里叫敲锣鼓，一起兄弟。
他们去吹唢呐了是吗？去送谁啊？
四声民族。
去送红军。哦。啊，您这是在做唢呐呢哈？
哎，对。
这个对木头要求比较高哈。
它是以公吹婆吹，所以它的材质要分开来。一般婆吹的材质它是比较松软一点的材质，哎，公吹这个是公吹的，这个公吹的材质它是比较硬。
它这个材质是要是硬，是不是声音就更低啊？
更高。
更高。
哎，高亢对，哎，对。
那这种是做？
这个是婆吹，
这个是婆吹，
这个做婆吹，所以这个材质比较松软一点。它吹出来的音质低柔。
这样。那您怎么想到就是要把这个唢呐交给小孩啊？
是这样子，因为我们现在这个吹唢呐的人越来越少
啊，
这个传承民族文化的这些师傅啊都老了，50-60岁
不在，
像这个80多岁都是很少了，因为80多岁
老一个
很少，对的。
去80多岁吹唢呐的人很少。
对，所以我们想一下，就是说这个唢呐要传承下去，这个民族非物质文化传承下去，只有到学校里面，通过这个校园传到小孩里面。
对，因为现在年轻人吹唢呐太少了哈。
对，把这个传统文化进入课堂。
Liu's grandfather tells me that playing the sorna is great for your health, and of course, improving your lung capacity.
我这个是从我曾祖父开始，到我这里应该是5代人了，到我小孩是6代了。所以那么我说这个唢呐带给孩子很多快乐，其实我们自己从小学的时候也很快乐。但现在来说，这个唢呐进入校园以后啊，很多孩子很喜欢。我们这客家这个唢呐艺术啊，就是需要传承的。
From Udall, following in the footsteps of the Red Army, I head west to Xing'an County in Guilin Prefecture. It was here that the first and bloodiest battle on the Long March was fought, at the crossing of the Xiangjiang River, just 1 month after the Red Army had set off.
Here we are, the list of casualties on the Battle of Xiangjiang River from Udall. All in all, there are 1,126 names. These are just the named soldiers. It's said that 1 in 5 of the soldiers who left on the Long March was from Udall, so you can just imagine how fierce and bloody the battle was.
Coming up next, I learn how both the Battle of Xiangjiang River, along with the Yao people of Guilin's mountains, helped change the fortunes of the Long Marches. At the narrow crossing of the Xiangjiang River, the Red Army ran into a blockade set up by its foe, the Kuomintang. It took a week to break through. Although the Red Army suffered terrible casualties, the battle ultimately proved to be a turning point on the Long March.
It can be quite hard to imagine yourself on a battlefield, but I mean, this place really puts it into perspective. This was the bloody Battle of Xiangjiang, in which the 86,000 troops from Udall met with a 4th blockade, and in order to break out they lost more than half of their troops. But because they were able to do so, the Long March was able to continue.
Had they not succeeded, Chinese history might have taken a very different course.
Oh, here we are. So after the 4th blockade, the Red Army was finally able to break through, and this is the first major mountain they crossed, Laoshanjie. What a view, hey?
Laoshanjie is part of the beautiful Maro Mountain Nature Reserve in Xing'an County. This place sits at the source of 3 rivers, the Lijiang, the Xiangjiang and the Xunjiang, and its waters are some of the cleanest I've ever seen. Surrounded by swaying bamboo groves and ancient forests, I feel like I'm the king of this jungle. Except that I've been told that there are also black bears and giant salamanders lurking around somewhere, but I'm sure they won't mind my trespassing. I hope.
This is the best feeling ever. I can't tell you how amazing it feels to dip my feet in these crystal clear, cool waters when the sun's shining on my face. This is the best place to get a suntan and the best place to chill out and just relax and take in your surroundings. It's beautiful.
At over 2,100 meters high, Maro Mountain is the tallest in southern China. Up here you really do see clouds twist and dance as they form, roiling above Guilin's famous karst mountains that rise up from the ground like dragon scales. The mountains of Guilin are also home to the Yao people. For centuries, the Yao survived as slash-and-burn farmers, ruled over by chieftains. To this day, they still play their distinctive long drums in celebration of King Pan, a dog spirit they worship as their ancestor. Like the Hakka, the Yao were also displaced. In previous dynasties, they'd been forced off the fertile plains they inhabited and into the mountains. Still, the Yao were happy to let the Long Marchers pass through their territory unmolested, persuaded by the Communist Party's policy of respecting ethnic minorities. Today in Huajiang village, the Yao and their traditions continue to flourish.
哎，你好，我可以过来看看吗？
可以啊。
啊，谢谢。哇，这绣花呢？嗯。这个都是咱们瑶族的颜色是吗？
对。
这是有什么代表性的呀？
这个是代表我们鹿洞河的。
啊，这样子，我看您绣的都是反着绣的哈，还不是正面绣。
对对对。
为什么呀？
因为反面绣呢，它就是可以，第一可以加快它绣的速度，第二呢就是正面呢的图案好看一点，反面绣呢就是这边，反面呢就不是。
那你们一般会先画一下吗？还是直接就是？
都是按照这个线，它不是有线有经纬线吗？然后你就根据经纬线的线路去来挑绣。这种就是豆腐架花，我们叫豆腐架花、蜀子花。这个呢就代表我们瑶族的一种愿望，就是希望它的那个土地呢能够产出更多的薯子啊、玉米呀这些的。
永远都有收获是吧？
它也是一种期盼吧。
你觉得绣这个好玩吗？
好玩。
那挺难得的，一般年轻人不是都比较喜欢，玩手机啊、上网之类的。
那我不知道他们，反正我是不怎么喜欢玩，我就是喜欢绣这个。
我看咱们每个人头上戴的都不太一样，是有什么说法吗？
就是结婚了的呢，妇女呢就是包这种头巾，
就包黑头巾。
这种的呢就是女孩子，就是说还没结婚的。艳
一点，更吸引眼力。
对。
然后我看刚才有一位阿姨还戴着一个特别大的那个是什么东西？
那个帽子是在过去呢是一种新娘的帽子，但是随着这个社会的发展呢，它就是在那种节庆日啊，或者是走亲访友的时候才穿。这里，这一个就是我们传说中的瑶族盘王印。
Well, it's so intricate. I mean. I've got to say the ethnic Yao outfits are probably some of the most beautiful ethnic outfits I've ever seen, and everything is full of symbolism, and you can tell straight away from the hat who's married and who's available.
Like many other ethnic minorities, the Yao are struggling to resist the loss of their culture. I'm told that in the whole village, only 3 ladies remember how to sing this love song. However, hope is on the horizon. In recent years, the village school has introduced extracurricular sewing and long drum classes to help keep the Yao's cultural heritage alive and promote it in other parts of China. Coming up next, I visit a marvel of human engineering that was as important to China as the Great Wall, and discover that it's still in use even today.
So this might just look like another park to you, but I'm standing on the Lingtu Canal, which is the oldest canal in China, built over 2,200 years ago. Ordered by the first emperor of China, you might know him, the guy with the terracotta army, and it connects the Xiangjiang and Lijiang rivers, which in turn connected the Yangtze to the Pearl River Delta, and along with the Grand Canal, which was later built, connected all of China's major waterways. This was a major feat of human engineering.
Perhaps the most popular of Xing'an County's attractions is this canal, linking two rivers flowing in opposite directions. Built so the emperor could send troops to quell rebellious southern tribes, the Lingtu Canal was as historically significant for the south as the Great Wall was for the north.
So as you could probably tell, the best way to get around the canal is by boat.
Over time, the waterway was transformed into a key trade artery, allowing ships to travel 2,000 kilometers north to south as the crow flies, roughly the same distance as from Beijing to Hong Kong.
You know, it's something that I admire every time I come to southern China. People who live by the river have such a good life, you know. They have this beautiful source of water just in front of them, and every time they need to go wash anything, they just come down to the river and hand wash their clothes right here and then. There's no need for a washing machine. So thousands of years ago, this canal was used for transporting supplies and military. These days it's a bit different. A lot of locals here are very much into dragon boat racing, and they're preparing for the upcoming Duanwu festival, which should be quite fun.
Xing'an wouldn't be as lively as it is today without the Lingtu Canal. Carved into its stone monuments and bridges are the signs of the wealth once brought by this waterway, the best example of which is Shuijie, or Water Street. Here, merchants plied their trade without ever leaving their boats, delivering their goods to land-based customers in baskets dangling on the end of their punting poles.
你知道哪儿能买到桂林米粉吗？
桂林米粉
啊，哪儿好吃点？
Where there's money, there's good food. Xing'an is the home of one of China's most iconic dishes, Guilin rice noodles. Judging by all these banners, I'm going to be spoilt for choice.
哎，你好，听说咱们这儿米粉蛮不错的。
对，我们家是百年老店。
哦，行，那来一碗吧。
好，里面做吧。8小碗桂林米粉。
Guilin rice noodles have stood the test of time for over 2,000 years. A quick blanching and the noodles are ready, after which in goes meat broth, some pork, veggies and condiments, and an absolute ton of toppings.
来，你的米粉好了。
哎，好嘞。哦，谢谢。这里边都放的什么东西啊？
有锅烧肉，有就是凉拌黄瓜，还有就是双萝卜。
酸萝卜，这是什么东西？什么豆？
是香香的豆子。
哦，行，好，谢谢。Let's dig in. I thought it would have soup, but I guess they're dry noodles. Oh, look how bouncy they are! Wow, can't wait. Oh, that's delicious. I love it. Really nice, really beautiful texture, glossy, and it's just the right kind of thing to eat on a hot day like this. Love it.
Honestly, these are the best rice noodles I've ever had, and a steal at just 4 yuan a bowl. I feel a bit guilty after all that food, so I'm heading back to Water Street to walk it off, and see if I can't find any more hidden gems.
You know, it's actually quite easy to miss these things. These were built about 700 years ago during the Song Dynasty by the wealthy local families to basically commemorate the wealth and fame of their own families. And because one person built one, other people had to build their own as well. So that's why in the end you had 5 of these gates. But it just goes to show how successful, how wealthy this place used to be.
The Lingtu Canal connected northern and southern China in the simplest way possible. It's what's known as a contour canal, dug according to the shape of the land, which reduces engineering works to a minimum. Even today, scientists still come here to study its ingenuity and marvel at the brilliance of the people who built this canal over 2,000 years ago.
It's so nice and refreshing here, especially since it's usually so hot. But also, up close, you really do get to see how the dam was built. They use these, I guess, interlocking joins, a bit like pieces of a puzzle, to keep these great big slabs of stone together so that when the current is strong, like today, or during a flood, these big rocks don't get carried away by the current. I've already stepped like 5 times, so don't count me in.
Nowadays, life in China is far removed from the difficulties experienced by the Long Marchers. Theirs was a story of perseverance and willpower in the face of overwhelming adversity. It gave rise to the saying, compared to the Long March, nothing is impossible.
You know, it's hard to imagine that just several decades ago, just 20-something kilometers further downstream from here was the bloodiest battle during the Long March. But because the Reds were able to break out of it, they were able to march on to Guizhou province, where they held the Zunyi Conference, which saw the rise to power of Mao Zedong. And some have also said that the meeting plotted the course of modern history for China. But that's for the next episode.